Hey everyone, my name is Stan. Welcome to The Russian Opinion. My second YouTube channel is in English. The Russian one's going to be in the description below. Today we have Andy. Andy how long have you been in Russia, Andy?
Approximately 3 years.
He is an owner or a co-owner of a restaurant called Bistro on the southwestern side of Moscow. It's a very neat place. The food is quite good, especially the burgers. So Andy, first of all, welcome to the channel, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where'd you come from? What'd you study?
So I was born in Hong Kong. My mother is Chinese and my father is Swiss, and I also have a New Zealand citizenship, just to add to the mix. I've lived mostly in the Asia-Pacific region, so I lived in Taiwan, mainland China, Australia, New Zealand, and also Switzerland briefly. I have a wife, of course, and a son who's 3 years old.
How many kids do you have in general?
I have one, but I have one more on the way. Yeah, very soon.
You'll have barely any sleep very soon, right?
Yep, treasuring this moment.
When did you first start thinking about coming to Russia and why?
Well, I tried to come to Russia, I think 2017, permanently, when I got married, but I was not able to find a job. So I left Russia and I worked actually in an opening hotel in Jakarta. And then I had an opportunity to come to Russia in my job. So I was working in 5-star hotels, and I took it. It was at the Kempinski Balchuk in the city center. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to kind of move here permanently, and kind of settle down, let's say. So that was in 2019.
Okay, but the question is why? That most people usually ask that question. They ask me that question, my wife as well.
I think Russia is quite a stable place. I mean, my wife's family's here. My family, on the other hand, is quite nomadic. So they stay in one destination like 2-3 years and move to the next. So at the moment they're in Kuala Lumpur. And so it's more for the stability. We were thinking about starting a family, so Russian schooling is quite good as well. So that was a big motivator for us.
What did you feel exactly when you understood that 100% you're going to be moving to Russia?
Well, I had a taste of Russia beforehand because prior to marrying Oksana, I came here on a vacation. And it was a pretty amazing experience, I have to say. I did a lot of stuff that I wouldn't be doing now, or that I guess you might not even do as a foreigner. So I went to Baikal, we went on the lake, and went to Moscow, saw all the tourist sites and everything. And yeah, it was a pretty good impression for me. And so I wasn't really too nervous coming here. And I didn't really think too much either. I mean, because I'm just so used to moving around. So I just go with it.
And where else in Russia have you been besides Moscow and the Baikal?
St. Petersburg, and of course Kaluga, because our family farm is based there. And that's about it. I still have a lot to explore, actually. Yeah. It's massive, right?
What was difficult about moving to Russia, or what did you find difficult? What was difficult to get used to, for example?
The language barrier initially. I mean, picking up the Cyrillic alphabet was quite straightforward, but then just understanding what you're reading, and of course, just documentation processes in general. So, as a spouse to a Russian citizen, it was quite challenging applying for a temporary residence permit and permanent residency permit. And by that I mean I went to Sakharovo, which is the place to do your permits in Moscow, and it took us like seven tries. And I mean, that's pretty much like 7 full days, right? So at the time I was working at Kempinski, and just asking your boss, hey, I'm really sorry, but can I take another day off, to travel down there?
Was it 7 times you were sitting inside the building?
Like it was full on days. We sat in the building, waited for a number. I mean, minimum it took 6 hours, I would say, each try. But there were moments where it took longer.
So essentially, you were actually there many more times than that, because at first you have to pick up the ticket. Yeah. I think they've changed it now.
They have. I think they've actually removed or are planning to remove RVP like for spouses, so you can go direct to VNG.
So actually, you were there many more times.
Yes.
Did you notice any kind of difference in the food
I
here?
would say actually the quality of Russian food, and specifically dairy products, is second to none here. Like I was actually really wowed by the selection of dairy products to begin with. So you have like stuff that I've never tasted before, like kefir, ryazhenka, and all these things. It was all completely foreign to me. But yeah, it's really wholesome food, and definitely compared to Hong Kong, where the quality I would say is inferior actually to Russian produce. But yeah, I eat a lot, so so.
How about ice cream? Russian ice cream?
I love it. I love it. I'm a huge fan of food, but yeah, I really like Russian food. Yeah, pilmenis, borscht, especially homemade borscht, right? Yeah, like whenever I go to my mother-in-law's, I don't know if she's secretly, like, oh gosh, she's coming here again, I'm gonna have to cook extra, giving her extra work and stuff.
What about haladets? I hate it personally.
It's so funny because there were 2 food items which I really hated, and after coming to Russia, it changed. And I'm a huge fan now. One of them is haladets. I couldn't eat it beforehand. Now I ask for it. And the second, strangely, is mayonnaise. And I think, like the mayonnaise that I've had, like in Asia, it's not fresh. It's all like, stuffed with, let's say chemicals. But yeah, here in Russia, it's really quite different, and it's really flavorful. So
I dislike haladets. For me, it was always ruined soup. I'll warm it up so it becomes liquid.
I'll let you in on a secret. I hope my wife isn't listening, but I once actually fried haladets just to see what would happen.
And what happened?
No, I don't recommend it.
How about people in Russia? Because there's a stereotype that once you come here, and if you leave the Moscow region, of course, then everyone is dangerous. Everyone's trying to rob you. They're trying to do harm to you personally. I haven't had any kind of experiences like that. My friends and other people I know who've moved here, but this stereotype does exist, especially in the West, and especially amongst Russians who moved away in the 90s and live in the West. They tend to push the stereotype that everyone here is an asshole.
I didn't really know much about Russia prior to coming here, but if you look, I'm a huge movie buff, and if you look at like Hollywood movies and you look at the villains and characters, they kind of like associated either with like a Russian or perhaps German maybe, but yeah, it's I think it's a false image, and I don't know if there's a deeper meaning behind that. But my time here, in the 3 years that I've lived here, I haven't experienced anything in terms of crime against me. And generally speaking, Russians that I've met in Moscow and outside of Moscow are quite curious, like, oh, why are you here, and what are you doing, and oh, you're kind of a weird mix, but okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think in general, I think like just breaking that first barrier, because like I would say that in general, smiling might be portrayed as being weird, like maybe, but yeah, I mean after like speaking to a random person on the street, I'd say they're quite approachable and quite like straightforward. Like they say how they feel as it is.
Exactly. So you get all the experiences. In one day you can experience something extremely negative and something extremely positive.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
not but at least you know where you stand, right?
Exactly.
Which is quite good, because I think in some countries like people might kind of deflect, or like culturally, like they might not say something which is the truth, let's say, and I appreciate that.
Well, it's quite normal in the countries where I lived in, except for Malta. There, people are more straightforward as well. But the whole notion of I don't want to tell you the truth because I think you might find it offensive.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Personally, I'd rather be told the truth. Yeah. One, because then I'll have something to tell my wife. Something exciting happened today, you know? But as well, it helps me actually improve myself if I'm doing something. Because I've heard and I've experienced this myself in Canada and the States as well, where people will tell you something positive even though you've completely failed.
Right.
And then you go home thinking, oh, I'm so good.
I'm a winner, right?
Yeah, I'm a winner. I've won everything. I'm excellent. I don't have to improve. How about safety? I mean, you've been in other places in Russia. You said St. Petersburg, Moscow.
I haven't had any issues of safety. I mean, like, I am a bold guy, so, you know, like, I have that, like, plus 5% fear factor, maybe, if I'm not smiling. No, I haven't had any issues.
The fact that you're bald, you're only missing one thing. You need a Land Cruiser or a G-Wagon, and then no one's going to talk to you.
I got my shades as well, so, you know.
What do you miss most about back home?
Well, I would define home first as, of all the places that I've lived in, probably Hong Kong, because I've spent the most time there and I have the most emotional attachment to that place. But there are a few things. Hong Kong's a really compact and condensed city, so I just miss walking through. I mean, you have, like, in certain areas you have buildings which are maybe like 2 meters apart, and these are like skyscrapers, right? So I just miss, like, it's kind of like a labyrinth. I miss just walking through these alleyways. It's got an odor to it, like a smell, you know, like of the sea, but also of, like, markets nearby. There's a lot of outdoor food stalls, which I haven't really seen in Russia. I don't know if it's because of, you know, legal reasons or whatever.
Outdoor food stalls.
Like, as in, like, cooking outdoors, I mean, like, food stands. And so you have, like, noodle stands, dim sum stands outside in the streets, and, like, you know, the smells, like, kind of waft into the air.
They have them in parks, but they're usually, at least they're like covered in some kind of...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, in Hong Kong, they go, like, old school. I mean, you have, like, guys, like, frying on walks of, like, you know, cigarettes in their mouth, like... So they really, it's quite an interesting... I think you don't see it anywhere in the world, I guess. No, maybe in China and other parts of Asia, but yeah, I miss that. I can't really describe it that well. You have to be there really to experience it. But yeah, it's just really quite a noisy city as well, and yeah, a little bit chaotic, I would even say.
So you miss the chaos?
I kind of miss that atmosphere, and the food. I'm not gonna lie. I miss like Chinese food.
If someone wanted to go to Hong Kong right now, let's, in an ideal world where COVID doesn't exist and everyone is friends and everything, and someone wants to go to Hong Kong right now, right? Is there any kind of, like, tips that you would give them based on what you said?
You mean just in terms of, like, tourism?
Yeah, in terms of tourism, in terms of safety.
I would definitely say if you're going to visit Hong Kong, you have to take the Star Ferry, which is a ferry which goes between Hong Kong Island and Kowloon, because you get a full view of the city. It's amazing. You can do it either daytime or nighttime, and it costs only $2 Hong Kong, which is like 50 kopecks maybe. So it's nothing. It costs nothing to go across. I would say definitely try the food. You have to go to a market. It's almost like in Rush Hour 2, if you ever seen it, when Chris Tucker goes to the market, you know, they hold a chicken up, and so it's kind of that atmosphere, right? And Hong Kong's also a short ride away from Macau, which is amazing. So this is the biggest gambling center in the world. It dwarfs Vegas, by the way. And yeah, I mean, you have a lot. You can go up to the Peak. It's an interesting city because of its colonial past. So you have a mix of architecture. I mean, the street signs are in English and in Chinese, and you have also a fusion of cuisines as well. So it's it's interesting.
Andy, regarding business, right? Because you're a co-owner of a restaurant, how easy or how difficult it is to do business here? What can be improved? What annoying things you experienced, or maybe not?
I think there's definitely a lot more legislation involved, especially running a restaurant or cafe in Russia. So I think it's almost up to the point, like with Rospotrebnadzor, that like you would need to hire a full-time person dedicated just to following all the journals and all the kind of like processes in place to get that right. And quite frankly, I mean, I've only worked, let's say, so almost a year here, and I did about a year and a bit in Kempinski. And I've talked with other people in the industry, and I would say I don't think anyone's actually gotten away with like no penalties or no fines. Let's say like you can't get away operating a business in this industry without being penalized somehow. And then of course you, in the current situation, it's definitely much more challenging.
For anyone looking to move here temporarily or permanently, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, living here, I've had a huge backbone, which is the Moscow Expats Group. So this isn't an advertisement, but basically it's been a really helpful resource because you have a lot of foreigners who have joined this group, who ask questions online, and you get many different situations, like even like, just anything you can think of you can find there. And they've got a history, like you can search group history and just find anything. So I would highly recommend joining that group. Of course, there are certain rules, like no political statements and blah, 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 but that's a given for any group, right?
This is my favorite part of any interview that I've ever done. It's called the open floor. Basically, whatever comes to mind, go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I'm just gonna steal your time and self-promote a little bit. If you're based in in Southwest Moscow, or if you're visiting, we would be really happy to have you. We're a family-based restaurant, and actually we have a farm as well, located in Kaluga Oblast. So that's where we get our meats from, and we're extremely beef-centric, as you may have noticed from our name, Beefter. So we have steaks, burgers, we make handmade pelmenis in the farm production center, varenikis and so on. So come on over. We have a small kids room. We also do small private events for birthdays.
People are going to think that you paid me for that. Just so everyone knows, it's not a paid advertisement. It's really, I find the food here, very tasty. He's also a foreigner. It's part of my channel. I figured if he gives me an interview, why not go ahead, advertise it. Where is it located exactly?
It's located in Solntsevo, in Luchi compound.
Fresh meat, steaks,
burgers, a huge part of our offering.
Your pepper sauce is actually very good. I have to say, I'm a fan of different types of pepper sauces. I once had pepper sauce where it was mainly peppers and a little bit of liquid, and I was like, I can't eat this. It's impossible. Yours, very good.
Thank you. Thanks.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
It's a pleasure to be on your show, and if anyone's watching who hasn't subscribed, please subscribe. And thank you for having me.
Andy, thank you very much for your time. It's interesting to have a little chat and learn more about your life. If anyone who's watched till the end of the video, subscribe, write your comments down below. The address to this restaurant is going to be in the description. So if you are in the area, come visit. When are you open?
From 12 to 10.
Are you closed on any particular day?
Tuesdays, yeah.
Again, Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.